Imagine waking up one morning and realizing your life savings are worth less than a cup of coffee. In Argentina, that's not fiction, it's reality. How did one of the richest countries on earth become an economic disaster zone? This is the shocking story of Argentina's collapse and why it could happen anywhere. Argentina has long been known as one of Latin America's most promising countries, rich in natural resources, fertile lands, and a highly educated population. Yet despite this potential, Argentina's economy has been a roller coaster of boom and bust for decades. Today, in 2025, the country is once again facing a crisis so deep it serves as a warning sign, not just for Latin America, but for the entire world. The story of Argentina's collapse is one of political turmoil, economic mismanagement, and painful social consequences, all unfolding in real time. But more than that, it might be a chilling preview of economic instability that other nations could face if lessons aren't learned. The roots of the crisis: inflation and political instability. To understand Argentina's current situation, we have to look back a few years. The seeds of the collapse were sown by a toxic combination of skyrocketing inflation, mounting debt, and a political landscape that was deeply divided. By 2023, inflation had reached an astronomical 211%, one of the highest rates in the world. Everyday items like food, fuel, and transportation were becoming unaffordable for the average Argentine family. Meanwhile, poverty levels climbed to over 50%, with more than half the population struggling just to survive. The peso, Argentina's currency, lost value rapidly against the US dollar, which fueled more inflation in a vicious cycle. To try to stabilize the economy, governments repeatedly imposed strict currency controls, limiting the ability of citizens and businesses to buy or sell foreign currency. These controls only drove up demand on the black market and worsened economic uncertainty. Political leaders seemed unable to agree on a solution, which created widespread frustration and unrest. Protests became a regular occurrence, with citizens demanding immediate relief from their deteriorating economic conditions. Enter Javier Milei, the radical libertarian. In this atmosphere of chaos and despair, a political outsider emerged: Javier Milei. Known for his fiery rhetoric and libertarian economic ideas, Milei promised to shake up the system. His core message was simple: shrink the government, eliminate wasteful spending, and unleash the power of the free market to fix Argentina's problems. For many desperate Argentines, his bold promises were a breath of fresh air. Milei's election in late 2023 marked a turning point. His government wasted no time in implementing drastic reforms. These included severe budget cuts, privatizations, and a controversial plan to abolish the central bank. His team argued that only by removing government interference could Argentina restore confidence among investors and bring inflation under control. However, these policies came with a heavy human cost. Public sector layoffs, cuts in social programs, and reductions in healthcare spending immediately impacted the most vulnerable populations. Hospitals faced shortages of medical staff and critical supplies. In fact, by mid-2024, over 2,000 health ministry employees were laid off, and essential programs like the DAD-C, which provided free medications for chronic conditions, were dismantled. Reports estimate that these cuts contributed directly to over 60 avoidable deaths, sparking outrage among human rights groups, the economic reforms, and the IMF bailout. One of Milei's first moves was to remove all currency controls and allow the peso to float freely on international markets. This led to a sharp devaluation, with the peso losing roughly 40% of its value within months. While painful, this move was intended to eliminate the parallel black market for dollars and attract foreign investment. The government also pursued a massive austerity program, cutting subsidies, freezing public sector wages, and restructuring debt. In April 2025, Argentina managed to secure a landmark $20 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. This was a critical achievement because Argentina had a strained history with the IMF, including a dramatic default in 2020. The bailout deal came with tough conditions requiring the government to maintain fiscal discipline, tighten monetary policy, and pursue structural reforms. Critics warn that such austerity measures risk deepening inequality and social tensions, but supporters argue that this is the only way to restore credibility and stabilize the economy after decades of fiscal irresponsibility. Signs of stabilization. Hope amid the hardship. By mid-2025, there are signs that the reforms are starting to take effect. Inflation dropped significantly from its peak to a monthly rate of around 1.5%, the lowest in over 5 years. The poverty rate, while still unacceptably high, has decreased to 38.1%, signaling some improvement in living standards. The IMF projects a 5.2% GDP growth for the year, a rebound fueled by increased exports and renewed investor confidence. Foreign companies are cautiously returning, lured by low labor costs and the government's commitment to a free market agenda. Argentina's rich agricultural sector has benefited from favorable global commodity prices, providing an important boost to the economy. Yet, these numbers only tell part of the story. For many Argentines, the reality remains harsh. The sharp cuts in public spending have resulted in crumbling infrastructure, overcrowded hospitals, and underfunded schools. Unemployment in the public sector has surged, pushing thousands of families into uncertainty. Inequality has widened as wealth gains are concentrated among a small elite while many continue to struggle with basic needs. The social cost, protests, and public outcry. The social fallout from Argentina's economic crisis cannot be ignored. Public protests erupted repeatedly in 2024 and 2025, driven by labor unions, healthcare workers, and social activists demanding a reversal of austerity. Strikes across key industries disrupted daily life and exposed the tensions bubbling under the surface. Healthcare has been one of the most affected sectors. The dismissal of thousands of workers and the collapse of essential programs meant many people lost access to life-saving treatments. The dismantling of the DSE program, which provided free medicines for chronic diseases like diabetes and cancer, created a public health emergency. Hospitals, already underfunded, struggled to cope with increasing demand and declining resources. While the government defends its tough stance as necessary for long-term recovery, the reality on the ground paints a more complicated picture. Argentines face a daily struggle to balance survival with hope for a better future. Lessons for the world. Why Argentina's story matters. Argentina's collapse in the 2020s is more than just a local tragedy. It's a global cautionary tale. In a world where debt levels are soaring and inflation fears are mounting, the risks Argentina faced could soon be mirrored elsewhere. One clear lesson is the danger of unchecked inflation and the spiraling consequences it brings to everyday people. Argentina's experience shows how losing control over currency stability can cripple an economy and destroy public trust. Another takeaway is the political challenge of implementing tough reforms. Radical economic shifts can stabilize a country on paper, but risk alienating large portions of society if social protections are stripped away too quickly. Countries around the world must balance the need for fiscal discipline with social responsibility. Argentina's experiment highlights how ignoring this balance can lead to deep social unrest and human suffering. Could this happen to others? Some experts warn that countries with similar vulnerabilities, high debt, political fragmentation, and inflationary pressures could be next in line for economic distress. Emerging markets especially face difficult choices in managing external debt while protecting vulnerable populations. Moreover, the global economy today is far more interconnected than ever. Financial shocks in one country can ripple across continents. Argentina's collapse is a stark reminder of how economic instability anywhere can have wide-reaching consequences. The world needs to pay close attention to the Argentine experience, especially in an era of growing economic uncertainty, rising interest rates, and geopolitical tensions. How governments respond to crises today will determine whether their citizens face prosperity or hardship tomorrow. What lies ahead for Argentina? Looking forward, Argentina's path is uncertain. The reforms introduced by Milei's government have shown early signs of economic stabilization, but the social scars will take years to heal. Restoring trust in public institutions and rebuilding social safety nets will be essential to long-term success. The country's ability to diversify its economy beyond agriculture and commodities will also be key. Innovation, technology, and education investments could help Argentina break the cycle of boom and bust, but this requires political stability and a government willing to listen to its people. One thing is clear: the collapse of Argentina is a story still being written. The lessons here are urgent, not only for Argentines, but for all nations navigating the challenges of today's complex global economy. A wake-up call for the world. Argentina's crisis in 2025 is more than just headlines or economic data. It's about real people facing difficult choices every day. It's about the fragile balance between markets and society, between austerity and welfare, between hope and despair. For viewers watching this video, Argentina's experience should serve as a wake-up call. Economic stability is precious, but it must be paired with compassion and social justice. Ignoring either side risks repeating history's harshest lessons. What do you think about Argentina's situation? Could similar crises affect other countries soon? Or can the world learn from these mistakes and create a more balanced future? Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And if you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us spread awareness about global economic challenges and why they matter to all of us. Thanks for watching, and stay informed.